Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Season 2 of the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Kayla Smith, CEO of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching, creator of the Hormone P.U.Z.L.E method, an infertility warrior, two-time boy mom, and women's health expert. This podcast is for women struggling with infertility, painful periods, terrible PMS, or really just any symptom of hormone imbalance that they are ready to eliminate for good. Tune in weekly as we interview amazing experts in the fields of women's health, breaking down those hormone walls, nerding out on nutrition, and having way too much fun. Whether you're beginning your journey or you've been struggling for years, we're going to finally help you put those pieces of your hormone puzzle back together so that you can get pregnant and eliminate those pesky symptoms for good. Are you ready? This season is packed with even more expert guests sharing groundbreaking knowledge, giving you that jolt of energy that you so desperately need, sending you lots of virtual hugs, and inspiring you to take your fertility into your own hands and make that baby. Thank you so much for tuning in. Now let's get started on your road to transformation. On today's show, I am so excited to introduce you to Dr. Wendy Warner. After 14 years of conventional OBGYN practice, Dr. Warner established Medicine in Balance, a collaborative, holistic medical practice in the suburbs of Philadelphia. There, she focuses on a functional, integrative approach to health and healing, working alongside practitioners from many different backgrounds and offering a wide variety of therapeutic options. She is board certified in gynecology and holistic integrative medicine, is a certified functional medicine practitioner, an herbalist, and a mesa carrier of Q-Arrow tradition. She is nationally recognized speaker and educator, including teaching for the Institute for Functional Medicine. She is a past president of the American Board of Integrative Holistic Medicine. She has authored a chapter in the upcoming 5th edition of Rakel's Internal Medicine textbook and is the co-author of Boosting Your Immunity for Dummies. She currently serves on the scientific advisory board for Gaia Herbs. And on this show, we really dive into talking about adrenals, stress hormones, blood sugar, and something she calls heart math. This is a wonderful episode, and you ladies are gonna love it. So now, without further ado, let's welcome Dr. Wendy to the show. Hey, Dr. Wendy, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's fun to be here.
Yes, I'm excited to talk to you today. So tell us a little bit more. How did you begin working in women's health? And just tell us a little more about you.
So way back when I first decided I wanted to do medicine, I literally went to medical school knowing I wanted to be a gynecologist. And my parents kept teasing me because they kept going, well, what happens if you get there and you find out you hate it? And I said, well, then I'm in trouble because I don't want to be any other kind of doctor.
Right.
And so I did, conventional OBGYN training and spent 14 years in a conventional practice doing, surgery and deliveries and all that stuff. Well, somewhere along the line, it was actually right after my medical training. I got out in practice and I realized that I had the world's worst PMS. And if I didn't fix it, nobody was going to work for me for more than about 3 months.
Oh, no.
And of course, I was trained that I needed to take Prozac every day for the 3 or 4 days out of the month that I was a pain in the neck. And I went, I'm not going to do that. So I was already kind of interested in learning about botanical medicine and herbs and things. And so I went out looking to see, is there anything that I could take from an herbal standpoint that would keep me chill? And that was literally the first thing I learned how to get under control. With plants. And of course, I was new to the area. This was the 90s. Nobody was doing holistic medicine back then. So I kept my mouth shut. And then finally, over time, I kept having patients that were having issues that I knew how to fix easily. And they either really didn't want to be on prescription meds, or they tried them and didn't feel good. And so I finally just broke down and went, okay, listen, go to this health food store, ask for the owner, ask for this particular brand, take it for 3 months, see what, tell me what happens.
Yeah.
So this one woman who was dealing with some PMS, she started the same herb that I did. She called me back in 3 months and she goes, okay, well, first of all, my husband says, thank you very much.
Right.
And I told my girlfriend about it, and her husband says, thank you very much. And so I kind of went, okay, fine. Maybe I can actually do this and not get run out of town as the town quack.
Right.
And so that's kind of how I ended up shifting, and I started doing more and more and more sort of botanical medicine and energy work and that kind of thing. And so in 2004, I split with my old practice and I started my current practice, where I do functional medicine, heavy on the herbals. Over the years, I have had zillions of different really cool practitioners who have worked with me, like acupuncturists and energy workers and nutrition coaches. I have a shaman that works with me. It's a cool team. It's a very cool team.
I love that. I love that. And tell us where you are. Where's your office?
I am in a suburb north of Philadelphia.
Okay. I love that. Amazing. So let's talk about adrenals. How can people tell that their adrenals might be off? And why do you say normally it might be an issue with your ovary imbalance?
So first of all, if you live in this country, you probably don't have really well-balanced adrenals, because Americans don't know how to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And there is nothing in our culture that says it's okay to sort of chill out and take care of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Other places in the world, they're taking 2-hour lunch breaks and 6 weeks of paid vacation and a year maternity leave and all that good stuff. We don't do that. If you take a typical American and then you throw them into a pandemic for a year, I can guarantee you your adrenals are probably out of whack. Here are the signs. Here are the typical symptoms. You might fall asleep fine, but you wake up in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And at first you try to tell yourself that you're only doing that to get up to pee. And then you realize when you get back in bed, you're still awake and like you can't fall back asleep. Or you try to get in bed at a certain time because you know you have to get up in the morning, and it takes you like 45 minutes to turn your brain off.
Mm-hmm. It's
our cortisol along with melatonin that puts us to sleep and wakes us up. So if you're having sleep issues, it's about your stress hormones. If you're still menstruating regularly and you're having night sweats, that's definitely blood sugar and stress hormones. Because, hot flashes and night sweats, everybody talks about it as being low estrogen. Well, not really. It's really about blood sugar and ovarian hormone balance and stress hormones. They all kind of work together. And I've had, in this past year with the pandemic, I have had way too many people in their 30s and 40s calling me because of hot flashes. And their periods are still totally predictable. They're not perimenopausal.
Wow.
It's all about, and because if your adrenals are out of whack long enough, it can actually affect your ovarian hormone balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so, this would be appropriate for the folks that listen to you, because if you're interested in keeping your hormones balanced so that you can conceive easily,
mm-hmm.
but hey, you're dealing with a pandemic, and so your adrenals are really out of whack, what ends up happening is that, here's a way to think of it. Our adrenal glands' job is to keep us alive,
mm-hmm.
right? That's their only job.
Yes.
So they kind of get to take precedence over everything else.
Mm-hmm.
They get to call all the shots. They get the first dibs on all the resources. So they don't really care if your periods are weird.
Right.
They're going to grab your progesterone, and they can convert your progesterone to cortisol because they're chemically related. Because it's more important to get away from the tiger than to be able to get pregnant.
Exactly.
So suddenly you've got weird periods, maybe, because estrogen and progesterone can give you strange periods. you might just have really bad PMS all of a sudden that you never had before, because estrogen without enough progesterone makes us crazy. We'll weep at the drop of a hat. We'll yell at people. We'll want to slam heads together, all of that. And obviously, if you think about it, if your body thinks the tiger's behind you, they don't want you to stop and get pregnant. They don't even want you to stop and have sex.
Nope.
So it shuts everything down. I mean, I've actually had some people get so stressed out that it actually affects the brain hormones that talk to your ovaries, and it shuts everything down from up here. I mean, no period, because the FSH and LH both crash.
Wow. That's crazy.
So, I mean, stress hormones really affect everything.
Yeah. And we talk about that a lot on this show, how your body will take from any other process to make those stress hormones, because it's like you said, the main job is to keep you alive, and it doesn't care if you can get pregnant or have a pleasant period. As long as you're alive, that's it.
Absolutely.
So, and I think a lot of people don't realize this too, but sometimes waking up in the middle of the night can be your blood sugar doing weird things.
Right. So let's talk about blood sugar, because this has actually been a huge, I'm telling everybody, this is my new diagnosis in the past year. 80% of my patients, no kidding, have less stable blood sugar now than they ever have in their whole lives.
Wow.
And it's all about the stress hormones. Now, it was funny because last year this time, I noticed that people's blood sugar was getting kind of weird. I just thought it was a pandemic thing, right? And so I would be very nice to people and say, listen, I get it. You've been in quarantine. You were nervous, so you were eating comfort food, and you were drinking because you didn't have to go to work tomorrow, and the gyms are all closed, so you can't exercise. I get it. And I was really nice. And I said, listen, just back to normal. Go back to what you're supposed to do. And they tried, but their stress hormones never really got better, so their sugars never really got better. And it just got worse and worse because the whole past year was so strange. So here's what a lot of people don't understand, because now if their blood sugars are this unstable, a lot of people are noticing that their periods are different. So let's talk about that. Now, this is probably way more science than people want to know, but let me just talk. No quiz at the end.
Right.
Okay?
No, we love science on this show. So let's.
Okay, good. No quiz at the end. There is a cycle. Now, this happens in the uterus and in the breast tissue, much more than any place else, where stress and blood sugar starts basically turning your uterine lining and your breast cells into little estrogen making factories. It goes like this. If your estrogen and progesterone are a little unbalanced, the quote excess estrogen is going to create these two inflammatory chemicals, COX-2 and PGE2. COX-2 gives you this sort of like joint pain, typically if you have it out in the bloodstream, and PGE2 causes really bad cramps. Now, those two chemicals will create more of this enzyme called aromatase. Aromatase takes your testosterone and turns it into estrogen. Okay. So now you have even more estrogen. Your ovaries have no idea this is going on, so they're not making enough progesterone to cover this. Okay. So now you've got more estrogen, more inflammation, more aromatase, more estrogen, and you just go round and round and round. Okay. Wow. So that's already going on when your estrogen and progesterone is out of whack. So now if you're stressed out and your cortisol's wacko, that's going to impact your insulin, because your insulin won't be able to work right if cortisol's in the way. So now the insulin is creeping up. That causes more aromatase, that same enzyme. Wow. So as the insulin and the blood sugar bounce around, you get more of this enzyme, more estrogen, more inflammation.
And it's just this vicious cycle that we keep
cycle.
Going through.
And so think about it. If you're trying to get pregnant, and suddenly the lining of your uterus is being impacted by excess estrogen and excess inflammation, not a really happy place for a pregnancy to land, right?
No way.
Yeah. And the same pattern is going on in the breast cells. So if it goes on long enough, it actually increases your chance of getting, precancerous lesions and cancer of the breast.
Wow.
So you don't want, hormone dependent, estrogen positive. Stuff, So it's sometimes people will just think about, oh, well, I should eat healthy if I'm trying to get pregnant? Well, yeah, but it's actually about making sure your blood sugar is stable, not just eating healthy. Because trust me, lots of people in my practice are back to eating healthy and their sugar's still unstable.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about not just healthy food, but how are you eating? When are you eating? Are you eating low glycemic foods? Are you moving every day?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to be killer exercise, but you got to move every day to keep your insulin working. And then that whole stress management piece.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really, after a year of pandemic and people getting messed up, I am much less polite about saying, gosh, I think it would be a good idea for you to meditate. I think it would be a good idea for you. I'm just saying, hey, it's not negotiable anymore. Just do it.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And Americans are really bad at that.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we don't like to slow down. We don't want, I mean, I'm guilty of it. Type A personality, go, go, go. But you have to look at your health. When I was going through my infertility, that was one of the reasons I think I was going through that so hard, is because I didn't slow down. I was working out really hard. I was eating the wrong foods. I was too thin. My stress hormones, my adrenals were off. All of it affects your fertility, and people just don't realize that.
So there is a really interesting book written by a woman, Claudia Welch, who is both an Ayurvedic practitioner and a Chinese medicine doc. And she talks about it in terms of yin and yang.
Mm-hmm.
There are actually the same terms in Sanskrit, but I can't pronounce them, so we'll just say yin and yang.
Right.
And everybody knows that yin and yang exist together, and they are the opposite of each other, and they both have to be there in balance. All right. In terms of hormones, think of it this way. Yang hormones, that yang energy is that fiery, out there energy that's the go, 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 do all the time, be perfect wife, mother, sister, employee that we all tend to do.
Yes.
More so than men, and I'm not male bashing, but it's just the way we're raised.
Mm-hmm.
And those are our stress hormones, because they're more about being out in the world. Okay, the yin energy is the nourishing, quiet, sort of slower energy. This is our ovarian hormones.
Mm-hmm.
All right, they gotta be balanced. So if you're out there living this crazy young lifestyle, which most Americans do, you and me, the type A type people.
Yes.
What do you have to do in order? The more you give this energy out to the world, you have to give away your yin energy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, over time, that gets you really out of whack. And so it's all about building up the yin energy. And it's really fascinating to me because in Ayurveda, they talk about it in terms of both how you move, what you're eating, how are you exercising?
Mm-hmm.
A yin practice would be like, you can do yoga, but you can't do hot yoga.
Mm-hmm.
You can swim, but you can't do Zumba.
Right.
Or really bad, really big, like competitive CrossFit or something.
Yeah.
And the foods that are interesting, okay, here's what every American woman does. If she's out of whack and she gains a little weight because her cortisol's out of whack,
mm-hmm.
and her hormones are out of whack, what do? We go on a diet.
And restrict.
And well, yeah, but what kind of foods do we eat?
Yeah, really
Yogurt,
low carb.
Yogurt, smoothies, rice cakes, all these cold, dry things.
Yes.
The cold, dry foods make the yin energy imbalance worse.
Oh my goodness.
So you actually have to eat warm food and more fat.
Mm.
And you try to tell that to somebody who's worried about gaining weight, and she's going to think you're nuts, but it actually works.
Right. Oh, I agree. We talk a lot about cycle syncing, and that's what it is. We're eating for that cycle, and a lot of warming foods, a lot of fats, all of that. So yes.
But isn't it still like the first thing people are looking at you like, you have got to be kidding me?
Yes.
You want me to eat like
yes.
avocados and
yep.
soup instead of salad?
Exactly. I love when somebody says to me, you had me eat all this amazing food and I've lost weight and I wasn't even trying to lose weight. I'm like, well, there you go.
Probably because she balanced out her blood sugar better.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Her insulin got more stable.
Yep. Exactly.
Because a lot of people think they're eating well and they're really not.
Mm-mm.
I mean, they're not eating junk food. They're not going to McDonald's, but it doesn't mean that it's really right for them.
Exactly. And I talk a lot about you can eat healthy, but there's a step up when you're eating for fertility, especially. It's more fats, it's more protein, it's lots more vegetables and all of that. So yeah, people come to me and they'll be like, well, I'm eating healthy. And then I'll say, okay, what are you eating? And they'll tell me grilled chicken, salads, raspberry vinaigrettes. And
right.
I'm like, no.
That's not how it works.
No.
Yeah. And it was really funny because back when I did OB and people would, they'd be trying to eat right. And they would say, yeah, but like I really miss whatever. Name a food that wasn't particularly healthy for them. I would say, okay, here's the rules. You eat this whole list of healthy stuff that you need to get every day to build this little person. And if you're still hungry at the end of the day, you can add in that cupcake. Mm-hmm. But you have to get everything else in first. Which, of course, they couldn't do because it was also nutrient dense that they got full.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah, but at least that way you're telling them, you're not telling you they can't do it. You just have to do all this other stuff.
Yep. I agree. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about myths. What are some myths that you hear around blood sugar regulation or around adrenals? Let's kind of debunk a few.
Well, let's see. First of all, in conventional medicine, they don't even believe that adrenal dysfunction exists.
That's crazy.
That's problem number one. Here's what I was told in medical school. I was told in medical school that the adrenal glands you can get Cushing's, which is a very specific type of overfunction. You can get Addison's, which is an autoimmune condition where they don't work at all. You can get a tumor, and everybody else is normal and the same.
Wow.
Now, there's 40 years of research that shows there's that day-to-day dysfunction that's becoming more and more common, but they still don't teach that in med school. So I do like to try to point out to people, listen, if your conventional doctor's not thinking about adrenals, don't yell at them. It's not their fault. We really don't get taught about it. I mean, I had to go and teach myself after I got out of training. So the myth about adrenal dysfunction, I think the biggest thing is that people don't realize how much it affects. And it is historically always the last thing people want to address. Because it takes time.
Yep.
I mean, people will, when they're trying to get healthy, when they're trying to get their hormones balanced, they'll listen to you talk about food and they will change their eating. They'll listen to you talk about exercise and they'll work on that. They'll take supplements and herbs and things if you ask them to. You ask them to deal with their stress in a healthier way, they don't want to hear about it.
Nope.
Or it'll be like the very last thing that they get around to.
Yep. And that's a good point too. I'm a huge proponent on this show about being your own advocate. So if you go to your conventional medicine doctor and they tell you it's in your head or there's nothing wrong with your adrenals, they're normal, but that something's wrong, then get a second opinion.
Totally.
Seek out a functional medicine practitioner, a naturopathic doctor, a coach, somebody that will listen to you and take what you're saying and help you do something about it. So yeah.
Now the other thing that will sometimes be confusing, it's not really a myth per se, but it will be a misinterpretation by some conventional practitioners. They will often think that they have evaluated your thyroid if all they've done is draw a TSH. Now, I will give credit to the reproductive endocrinologists. They do understand that they need to keep the TSH in a very narrow window to have a really healthy baby with a good brain. But the TSH is not a thyroid hormone. It's a brain hormone that talks to your thyroid. So it can be really affected by your adrenals, for instance. Just this morning, I was talking to a patient whose TSH is super low. And her T4 and her T3 are fine. Because her cortisol is like 1.5 times higher than it should be.
Wow.
And so what does cortisol do? Well, cortisol revs you up and all of that. Well, high thyroid hormone would also make you feel revved up. So her brain is misinterpreting the messages from the cortisol and thinking, oh, we're already revved up. We don't need anything else. And so it's shutting the TSH off because it doesn't want to talk to the thyroid. Well, a conventional doctor, this person happens to be on thyroid medication. A conventional doctor would see the TSH being low and say, oh, you're overtreated. And they would end up changing her dose and actually undertreating her.
Wow.
So anybody who's thinking about getting pregnant, if they're already on thyroid medication, be very careful with what your docs are doing with your TSH. Make sure that they're checking a T3 and a T4. They're not going to check an adrenal. Well, if they check a cortisol, they're not going to know what to do with it. So don't bother with that. But just let them know, well, maybe this isn't really a thyroid issue. And that's where you go see a functional practitioner or a naturopath.
Yes.
Because they will check your cortisol and know what's going on.
Yes, 100%. Oh, I love it. So we're going to take a short break to hear a word from our sponsors. And when we come back, I want to dive into some practical tips. How can we balance our blood sugar? How can we calm these adrenals? So we'll be right back. Hey y'all, it's Coach Kayla here. I hope you are loving this episode as much as I am. We will be back in just a minute, but first, a word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Hormone P.U.Z.Z.L.E Society, a women's health hub for fertility, hormones, and the business of coaching. Whether you're struggling to get pregnant with pesky hormone symptoms, or you're working to build a career in the fertility and women's health space, we have you covered. Visit our website at www.coachkayla.com to learn more on how we can help you. Text the keyword fertility to 615-257-8855 for your free fertility meal plan. Welcome back, Dr. Wendy. All right, let's dive into some practical tips. We talked a lot on the first half about blood sugar and about adrenals. So what would be maybe your top 3 things on how we can manage our blood sugar on a regular basis?
Okay. With blood sugar, you have to look at what you're eating and when. Are you moving and getting the cortisol out of the way? So basically, eating a low glycemic load diet, which I'm sure you guys have talked about umpteen million times on other shows. Have you guys talked about intermittent fasting much?
We have. I love intermittent fasting. I would love to dive into that with you, though. What's your take on it?
Well, I have a love-hate relationship with it, to tell you.
Yeah.
If you look at the research, it looks like it's the greatest thing ever, and everybody should be doing it, and it can be really helpful. One of the things that I have found is, well, first of all, a lot of people do it wrong. Mm-hmm. They'll get up in the morning and they'll have a cup of coffee and they'll put something in it that actually has calories. Mm-hmm. And they think they're intermittent fasting. I like to point out, no, you're just skipping breakfast. There's a big difference. And just for the record, don't intermittent fast like most Americans do. Most Americans will start eating at noon and eat until about 8 or 9 p.m. and then go right to bed. And their dinner is their biggest meal. Well, that's just silly. Yeah. Start with breakfast, have breakfast and lunch, and then maybe a little something that doesn't really look like dinner. Mm-hmm. If that really is difficult because you're trying to eat with your family and like your family doesn't want to have dinner at 4 o'clock, you can do 10 to 6, but don't do much less than that. Anyway, so I think it's a good idea to stabilize your blood sugar by keeping the bulk of your food early in the day, not late in the day. Mm-hmm. Now, there's lots of herbs that you can use also for herbs and supplements. Inositol is a really nice one because you will also get a certain amount of benefit for estrogen and progesterone balance, and it's great for anxiety. Mm-hmm. So you kind of get a threefer with inositol, which I'm sure you guys have probably talked about.
We do. And do you recommend that for everybody or just women with PCOS?
I've used it with a lot of people other than just PCOS.
Okay.
I started using it just with PCOS, but it works for everybody.
Gotcha. And do you do the 4-1 composition where it's 4 myo-inositol to the D-chiro? Gotcha.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And the nice thing about it, I love to point out to people the fact that this is going to be the one supplement you don't mind taking because it actually tastes good.
Okay.
I mean, it's a sweet tasting powder. So people, I've had patients who put it in their coffee. They put it in their oatmeal in the morning instead of another sweetening agent, I don't care, as long as they get it in.
Right. I love that.
And then moving every day, there's really good research to show that the more you move every day, and it doesn't have to be crazy, but you got to move.
Mm-hmm.
And then, other herbs. There are many different combinations on the market, and I do think combination products with herbs tend to work better for blood sugar control. Mm-hmm. There's a company that I use a lot called Gaia Herbs. They've got a really nice product called glycemic support. Mm-hmm. It has things in there like bitter melon and can't remember all the other details, but it's a really good product. There are many companies like that have similar formulas. And what that will do is sort of help take the edge off of the blood sugar with direct impact on the insulin and the blood sugar itself. Now, most people with blood sugar issues also need to address their adrenals. Mm-hmm. And so usual stress management that we'll talk about in a second, but also any adaptogen herbs that will help stabilize the adrenals will, in a roundabout way, help stabilize blood sugar.
Gotcha. And do you have any favorites there?
Adrenal stuff?
Yeah, your adaptogen herbs.
Yeah, they're, you know how every now and then on the internet, every few years, there gets to be like the new herb that everybody talks about? Mm-hmm. Okay, well now it's ashwagandha.
Yes.
It's like the common thing everybody wants to talk about. It's a great plant. It really is. It's fabulous. But adaptogen herbs like ashwagandha are not intended to be used alone. Adaptogens are always historically used as groups, as combinations. And so people, when they come in and they're just taking ashwagandha, it's like, well, okay, that's fine, but you probably need to be on this combo because it's not, adaptogen herbs all tend to work on slightly different pathways. And so if you use them together the way most professional herbalists do, you get a better bang for your buck. Again, Gaia Herbs has a really nice product. It's actually a family of 3 products that they refer to as HPA Axis. And one is sort of like a daily maintenance for someone who's relatively stable, just needs a little bit of help. And then there's one for people who can't sleep, and they've changed the formula a little bit. And then my new favorite, there's a smaller company called Herbalist and Alchemist. A lot of people have never heard of them. They were started by one of my main herbal teachers, David Winston. He has a whole line of new adaptogens out that he's formulated over the past couple years because he was watching all of his clients get more and more and more distraught with the way the world's going. There is a product that he's made called Energy Adapt. Now, sometimes, and this, you only want to use this on people whose cortisol has actually been revved up for so long that it's on the way down.
Okay. Because
some of the herbs that are in there are now going to raise your cortisol. And I've used other combo products that have things like Panax ginseng and licorice root that will raise your cortisol. But you have to be careful because they can give you energy, but it's like I've had 10 pots of coffee kind of energy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, you know what that
is. I do not like that.
So this product has red ginseng in it, which is relatively stimulating, but it has these other nervines which sort of calm you down. So like mimosa and a few other things that are in that. I mean, there's also some ashwagandha and, typical holy basil and some of those things that'll sort of keep you chill. So you get this energy and support for the adrenals without feeling like, you're wigged.
I love that. Those all sound amazing. And just a little caveat, people on the show have heard me say before, but don't ever take any herbs unless you check with your healthcare practitioner, you're working with a functional medicine doctor, an herbalist, somebody who knows what they're doing, because you can really get in trouble with Chinese herbs. They're strong, and I don't want you taking anything unless you check with those, your practitioners. So. Yes,
and especially when it comes to adaptogen herbs, once you become pregnant. Mm-hmm. And this is just like a theoretical issue because you're never going to get anyone to do a study to say, okay, here, now that you're pregnant, let's have you take this herb all pregnancy long and see if it does anything to your baby. I mean, like, no one's going to sign up for that.
No.
So these herbs have not really been through that kind of studied. Now, do I think that there are women who've been out there over the past hundreds of years taking adaptogens all through a pregnancy and their kids are fine? Yeah. But these herbs are working on hormones. Mm-hmm. And we know that the chemicals in most of these adaptogen herbs are fairly small, so they can get across the placenta, mm-hmm. which means they're probably going to be impacting the infant, the fetus's organs, hormone-producing organs as they're developing. Mm-hmm. And most people I know just kind of go, it's probably okay, but probably let's just not try.
Yeah.
So most professional herbalists and every person I've ever studied with has said, if you know if you know they're pregnant, or even if you're pretty sure they're going to be getting pregnant soon, you might want to back off any adaptogen herbs just to be on the safe side. Mm-hmm. So, of course, that means all of the support for your adrenals you have to do yourself because you don't have any of the chemicals from the herbs. Mm-hmm. So here's where I'd say to people, listen, you could take all the herbs in the world to support your adrenals, but if you're still living your life like a tiger's chasing you, the tiger's going to win.
Yes.
So that's where we have to talk about how do your adrenals really come to believe that you're safe and they can chill out. Well, the science shows it's two things. They want to see a quiet brain on a regular basis. That doesn't mean you have to go up and live on a mountainside, in a loincloth and meditate all day.
Right.
But most of us, and I'm not like that, I'm this way. I'm sure you are too. Mm-hmm. We think a lot. We wake up thinking, we think all day long. There's just like a lot of stuff coming at us. That constant brain chatter, you know how when you unfortunately learn to multitask? Mm-hmm. And I say unfortunately because it's really bad for us, but we all learn to do it. That when you multitask, you start getting that little voice in your brain that keeps going, don't forget this, don't forget this, don't forget this. Mm-hmm. So even though you've written it down on your to-do list, it's still up here. That constant brain chatter, even though it doesn't bother you at all because it's been there for decades, it looks to our bodies like anxiety. Mm. So your adrenals are sitting there watching you going, well, I don't really see a tiger, but she's still planning stuff, so we better stay turned on just in case.
Right.
So if you can have a quiet brain, get some kind of meditative practice where you sort of shut your thinking off for a chunk of time every day, that really goes a long way to keeping your adrenals stable. But if you were to meditate every single day for the rest of your life, your adrenals will probably not get worse, but they may not go back to normal because that requires positive emotion. Now, I always say that and people sometimes look at me funny. And I go, listen, I don't think you're walking around in a bad mood all day. Well, I mean, you might be, but the constant brain chatter that we do and the constant busyness, just that alone, because it looks like anxiety, keeps the adrenals turned on. Mm. And so there's this research group called the Institute of Heart Math that were looking at how the heart and the brain talk to each other. Now, I was taught the adrenal glands respond to what the brain says. Brain says you're safe, they shut up. Brain says you're in trouble, they stay turned on. Okay, it's true, but it's only part of the picture. Our brain decides on our safety based on our emotional state, which starts in the physical heart. So the neurons in the heart send a message to the neurons in the brain that changes the brain chemistry. We put a name to the emotion at that point, and then the adrenal glands respond. Wow. And basically it goes like this. Every single negative emotion keeps the adrenals turned on.
Wow. Anger
and fear, you need to do the fight and flight reaction. That makes perfect sense. But it's everything. Anxiety and worry and sadness and loneliness and pain. It all keeps the adrenals turned on. And, it's normal to have those things happen. So the research group went, okay, so what do positive emotions do? Well, if your brain sees that you're happy and joyful and feeling grateful and successful and all that stuff, it assumes there's no tiger behind you because, who'd be happy if they were still in trouble?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So they literally took all that data and they came up with these techniques that are sort of like a meditation. The difference is, with most meditation techniques, what are you doing? You're breathing and kind of getting quiet. Mm-hmm. Okay. With heart math practice, you're breathing to get calm, but then you are actively recreating a positive emotion. Hmm. So in other words, I'm asking you to sit and daydream about something that made you feel good. Like, why would you not want to do this?
Right.
Right? You'd be surprised. It's actually amazingly difficult because a lot of us, I did this. I thought about happy. I didn't actually feel happy. And so I was kind of, when I first taught myself how to do this, because I used to be an obstetrician, which is a really good way to screw your stress hormones up. Right? And so a couple of years into practice, I realized, oh my God, I love this work and it is going to kill me. So I found the heart math practice, taught myself how to do it, and did it wrong right at first. I was thinking about happy. So it got pointed out to me that I was doing it wrong by the people at Heart Math, actually. And I had to go, oh, yeah. So I have to like figure out how to feel something because I wasn't really good at it back then. It's really kind of interesting though, because basically in order to be healthy, you have to take time every day to just breathe and think about something that made you feel great and actually recreate the positive feeling. And the more you do that, the more you're telling your adrenals, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, go back to normal, go back to normal. And you can literally shift your cortisol. Now, It's interesting because they've been doing, the Heart Math Institute's been doing research for like 30 years. They don't have a lot of direct research on women's hormone balancing, but I've been using this in my practice for 20 some odd years. So I know it works because if you can get the cortisol to settle down, it leaves the progesterone alone. So the estrogen and progesterone go back to balance that way. It leaves the insulin alone. So you have a better chance of having normal blood sugar so you don't screw up the lining of the uterus the way we were talking about. It works.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that. I'm going to work that into my meditation. And
that's exactly, I was going to say, that's exactly what I do. I like do about 10 minutes of Qigong so that I can settle my brain down. And then I sit and meditate because I find that if I can meditate first, it gets me quiet enough that then I can do the positive feeling. Sometimes if I try to do it the other direction, it doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Now, here's the other cool thing that they did. The researchers at Heart Math are literally a bunch of old hippies. They're in California and they're all in their 60s and 70s. So they were longtime meditators. And they kept saying, okay, no one's going to be able to sit there and just breathe and feel positive emotion for 30 minutes. They're going to get distracted. So they got the computer geeks involved and they made these little devices that turn your smartphone into a biofeedback device.
Wow.
So that as you're practicing, if you do it correctly, they're measuring something called your heart rate variability, which is sort of the balance between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems. And so if you're practicing correctly and you're coherent, which is the term they use, your HRV is this beautiful little sine wave. And the monitor picks that up and gives you all this pretty sounds and colors to let you know you're doing it right. The minute you get distracted, because you know what it's like when you're meditating and you're going along and all of a sudden you realize you're planning dinner.
Right.
And like, how long have I been thinking about dinner? So if you're practicing heart math, the same thing happens where you're going along feeling something, thinking about some great memory, and the next thing you know, oh, I left the laundry in. The minute you get distracted, your sympathetic nervous system goes up. So your HRV gets all jaggly. And the monitor picks that up. All the sounds and the colors change. So it's the way for the monitor to go, Wendy, pay attention.
Right.
So in a way, it's kind of nice because you're not wasting time. Because I'm sure you've had those days when you're going to sit and meditate and you may be there for 15 minutes, but you know full well when you're done that you really only were doing it correctly for like 5 minutes. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the monitors keep you on track.
I
so
love
it's kind
that.
of cool. And it's really funny because I've spent years and years and years teaching patients how to do this. For those of you, when you get pregnant, you know that stuff that they teach you in terms of breathing techniques, to get through early labor? Well, okay, it's distraction and it works. I've had patients who know how to do the heart math practice who do that instead. Say it works way better.
I can imagine. I can imagine. And we didn't even touch on this, and we do have to wrap this conversation up. I could talk all day, but I'm sure doing the heart math and thinking about those positive situations allows your body to make oxytocin. Would I be correct in saying that?
Yes.
So, and we all know the benefits of oxytocin. We've talked about it on this show many, many times, but
Yes.
the higher your oxytocin and your joy goes, then that also lowers those stress hormones.
Totally.
Love that. So yes. And that's a practice I talk about within my programs on these women trying to get pregnant, is how to increase your oxytocin on a daily basis. So I love that. So adding in heart math could go hand in hand with that.
Absolutely. And it gives you actual documentation that you're doing a good job.
I love that. So how do we find more about you? How do we find more about the Heart Math Institutes and this app? So
my website is Medicine in Balance, which is my practice name. We actually teach heart math here. We do Zoom sessions thanks to COVID. And then the heart math, if you want to look at their science, they've got two websites. They've got a .com and a .org. On their .com, if you go heartmath.com/science, there's a one-page little everything you need to know about why it works. And if you're a research nerd, go to their heartmath.org site, and there's a drop-down box for all their research, and it's in there by topic. I love that. And all that'll be in the show notes. And so we'll make sure that everybody knows how to find that. Well, Dr. Wendy, it's been so fun talking to you. Oh my goodness. I loved our conversation. So thank you for being here. And I would love to know any final thoughts you have, any words of encouragement or advice you want to leave our listeners with. Here's the most important thing. And you probably have already said this to your listeners. We are designed to be able to get pregnant, carry a baby, and give birth. That's what we're designed to do. The most important thing is get out of your own way. This is not something you can think your way through. Like all those years that I did OB, people would come in and they'd have all these plans. It's like, no. Just get out of your own way. Your body knows what to do. And the more you plan and think about it, the more you're going to interfere.
I love that. Amen to that. Well, thank you again. It was so fun to talk to you. I really enjoyed our conversation. So thank you.
I enjoyed it too. Thanks so much.
And thank you guys for listening to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Until next time, bye for now. Hey, hang on just 1 second before you go. I want to make sure that you are aware of all of the amazing free resources that I have for you on my website at CoachKayla.com. From a fertility meal plan, a cycle syncing quick start guide, a holistic healing cookbook, as well as master classes, blog posts by me and some amazing experts in the fields of fertility, hormones, and nutrition. So many wonderful resources that will help you on your journey. And I wish there had been something like this when I was going through my 2 years of infertility, but there just wasn't. And so that's why I decided to create all of this for you. So make sure that you go and check it out and you take advantage of this plethora of support that I have provided for you. And spoiler alert, these were some of the same tricks and the same foods that I used to get myself pregnant, not once, but twice, even after my doctors said that I couldn't. So I know that these things work. Make sure you take advantage of that. And I cannot wait for you to be my next success story. So thanks, love. See you soon. Thanks for tuning in today to the Hormone Puzzle Podcast. Check out the show notes for today's episode at CoachKayla.com. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and leave a review. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next week.